Hey, so this video is a track breakdown of my most recent song, Child of the Stars, that I created for my studio based on a purposeful prompt that are designed for my studio space. Studio Raphael is the home for purposeful creativity. The goal here is to help you do some self-reflection, do some inner growth, and also apply that into creative works that can actually mean something and that can actually be used for good in the world and that you can share with others and feel good about having created. So if you're interested in joining along for the journey, you can subscribe here on YouTube, you can like the video, that would also be very nice of you. And if you're interested in participating and joining me in each monthly prompt, then definitely join us in the school community because that's where it's all going down. So enjoy the breakdown and hopefully I'll see you in the studio. All right, let's dive straight into the track. If you have any questions, for sure leave them in the community, but my goal here is basically just to give you a run through of where my ideas came from, what the tracks look like, and yeah. So it's kind of interesting how the song came together because like I was just on a walk and I heard the chorus melody as I was walking in my head. It was just like I just had those notes somehow and I was like, did I steal this or did it just come to me? So whatever the case was, I was like, all right, whatever, running with it. I like it. We're going to work with it. So I sat down with it. I found the chords on piano. I eventually figured them out on guitar as well. And I was like, all right, let's see what we can do with this. And so a few weeks later, I woke up in the morning and it was in my head again. And I was like, all right, I need to get to this. So basically I just started building out the chorus progression. So that is the section here. And so it started out with just the piano. I was like, all right. Just the piano, and I have Omnisphere here, which I made, well, I didn't even make the instrument, I just picked a preset that I knew I liked, the space piano there, and I stacked that, and then I think closely after that I created the bass line, and I was really happy with that bass line. Some low end to it. This is R bass, which is a plugin from Waves, just to give it some low end beat, and added a high pitch synth to help it build. And this is just another piano that adds some movement. And this one is space piano. Oh, I think this is just like quiet, plucked pianos underneath. Yeah, so that just adds some extra movement that you can't necessarily hear in the mix, but it just creates feeling in the ears. Right? You can hear it now that I've told you about it, but you wouldn't have been able to really have known it was there otherwise. So this is like the foundation of MIDI right here. It's just all our chords and the tracks there. And then, so originally I put the drums together through the drum synth, but I didn't really like how they were sounding. So I put it there, but then I pulled it down. And then there was like the hi-hat as well that I found in Battery, which is Native Instruments drum sampler, and then some open hat just as like an octave, just to give it more room. And then I found an actual physical sample for an open hat that I threw in there too, and then this big splashy snare that I got from Omnisphere. Threw on a micro shift and a spreader there. Micro shift is from Sound Toys. So my goal here with the instrumental is just create as much space as possible, and that's a bit more of a punchy kick. So like this was pretty much all there, and then I was like, yeah, you know what, the drums just they're not hidden for me, and I figured I would just try throwing in some actual samples. So as you can see as well, and I've mentioned this in my tutorials, when I'm working, I forget to name stuff. I have chorus chords there, but everything's like untitled. I name the bass, but yeah. When I'm in the flow of things, I can't care less about writing down names. I know where I'm going. I've done it enough that I kind of have a good idea of how I work. So it works for me, but again, do what works for you. So there's the first kick that I added as a sample, and then a second one. So as you can see with the kicks, this is the one that goes all the way through, and then this one's there just to add some extra movement every second kick. I don't know what else. This is just whatever you call that, cowbell type of sound. And then this here, just a little movement drum every once in a while. And this is a reverse drum here. Now that I'm hearing it, it's kind of funny. And I don't know if it's going to be there. But anyway, when you put it all together, right? You can't really hear it. I'm trying to think if I even put that in there originally. Obviously, if I'm pressing solo on it and it's playing, then it is in the mix somehow. So, yeah. Okay. That is the foundation of the drums and different sounds like that. And then, on top of that, we have, I guess, the vocals we'll do at the end. So I'll show you the guitars that I built out. So I love layering dreamy guitars. So I threw a chorded guitar in there. These are just the basic, I think, plugins that is used for spin cycle in Logic. I like that sound. It's one that I sort of fell in love with when I played around with guitar in here. And then this is a bit more of a scratchy guitar that's playing the chords. And then there's this one, which is playing an arpeggiation of the chords. And then this one is the notes being held and me scratching the strings. And then last one, it's just some high notes that I put a panning effect onto. So that way it just kind of moves around and creates a movement in the mix as well. Having moving elements is just always nice, because it makes your mix sound full and rich and alive. I guess that's a good word for it. So yeah, when you put it all together, that's all the guitars. And this is all the instruments. It's kind of like this big wall of noise. Cool, right? And then vocals. So this is my lead vocal here. There's the basses. I've got a very big vocal chain happening. So decapitator, which is just adding some saturation there into an EQ to get rid of some of that low end, with a compressor on there that I've put to the Studio VCA. RC20 to add a little bit of reverb and more saturation, some high end there. De-esser just to get rid of some of the harsh essing. Channel EQ again, get rid of that low end again, because every time you add more saturation, you're bringing in more low end, so it's just kind of taming that, especially when you're dealing with all the channels at once, right? That's a lot of saturation happening on all the tracks, so it's good to just continue to touch it up. And then this is just a bit of multiband compression, right? Multiband, yeah, that's right. Multiband compression that's just acting on the top end just so that it doesn't get too harsh, with a little bit of sidechain at the end to the kick, just to give the vocals some movement with the kick as well. And then you can see all these different sends that I've got going through here too. So I like to create all my different sends. You can see if I go here and look at it, so right, I've got all my different buses. So this is my vocal bus, my kick bus, my pad bus, my drum bus, my guitar bus, bass bus. So I'm sending all my different instruments to their coordinated buses, so that way they're doing their thing. And then usually I send all those as well to a sidechain at the end. So that way it's like I have all my buses in place, and then those are all feeding into a sidechain so that everything's being sidechained. I didn't put the vocal bus to the sidechain because I didn't want it compressed as much as the rest of the instruments, so I just compressed that by itself. And then in these buses here, I like to put my different, I guess, plugins and stuff. So space delays there. Valhalla delay is another great plugin there. I've got 2 of them. I've got a second microshift happening. I have one on bus 16 there as well. Vintage verb, and then a parallel compressor for the vocals too, just to give it some life and add some volume into the mix. So yeah, I do a lot of processing as I'm going here. So let's add these vocals in one at a time.
There's a place in my heart.
Double down the center with the doubler on it.
You're in
And then
heaven's company.
hand left, hand right vocals.
A place meant for beauty.
And then more vocals there. So
You're a child of the stars.
and a low vocal that I sang.
There's
And
a
then
place
high
in
vocal
my
left and right. And then more vocals that are ascending.
You're in heaven's company. A place meant for beauty. You're a child of the stars.
Yeah. So pretty much I had all that built out, and then I copy pasted it, as you can see, and then I just like deleted sections and played around with it, and that built up the whole track. So all that's missing are just kind of like some auxiliary tracks here and there. The verse vocals I treated a little bit differently. I put by themselves, as you can see.
Every day feels so brand new,
So
and
just a
yet
little
the
flanger,
same
still
thing
going to
keeps
the
happening.
vocal bus as well. And then at the end, the middle here, these are just the risers. Right? And there's nothing on that. It's literally
Every day
just,
feels
just the sound, because I like the sound. Some other samples here, like the toms that go left and right. Just as like a fun little sound in there. And then the synth riser, that's acting as some, I guess, like build up there. And otherwise, yeah, I think that's pretty much every sound in here. The other things that are sort of happening is occasionally there's a bit of automation which is going on here. So some areas where, like right before the bigger chorus, I just kind of brought the volume down on some tracks just to make the chorus itself at the end there sound bigger. I added an extra layer of vocals into the last chorus just to make it sound a bit more full as well. And then here, there's some automation happening on the entire track with a reverb. So I left it on because when you turn a reverb on the master track, it'll click occasionally, and it was clicking. So I figured, you know what, why don't I just leave the reverb on, but I'll only activate it during that section. So
you're a child of the stars.
so it's on, and then you'll watch
No matter how
the automation. It goes down to 50, and 49, and then down,
call for me.
45, and then I bring it down really fast at the end there.
And no matter how
And then we're back. So that's just a little bit of automation just to bring the track to life there. But I think that's pretty much everything. There are some different chords in the verse, just because the chorus chords have one extra progression that happens. So it's like do 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 do, and then do 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 do. But the verse doesn't do that. The verse. Do, do. At least I don't think it should. Yeah. It just does the first, third, and fourth chords. Whereas the chorus has one extra chord in there. So I just had to reprogram those because otherwise the verse sounded really weird. And yeah, that's it. So everything's going to their respective buses, different tracks that I threw in there and built up. It's basically how I built the whole thing. If you have any questions, let me know. That's the behind the track for this one this month. I'm looking forward to making September's track. That'll be a lot of fun. I have no idea what's going to happen, but yeah, you'll be able to check that one out too. So enjoy the track. Wishing you well. Good luck on your own track coming up, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the studio. Take care.